welcome back to Restless. My name is Father Joseph Gill, priest of the Diocese of Bridgeport, Connecticut, and you've joined Lauren and Diane as we restlessly seek the face of Christ in today's crazy and mixed up world. And you know, one thing that's often mixed up, certainly in my life sometimes, is relationships. And relationships, whenever we release an episode on relationships, that tends to be one of our most popular topics because everybody's got relationships. And most relationships are messy. Maybe not most, but a lot of them are, right?
Yeah.
And so today we want to talk about, how healthy are your relationships? How do you know if you have a healthy relationship? Whether it's dating, whether it's friendship, whether it's family, what are the boundaries of a healthy relationship? How would you kind of evaluate your own relationships? And when do you keep a relationship and when do you leave a relationship? That we always talk about like toxic people and things like that. So a lot of ground to cover because I think this is a very practical topic for a lot of people who are listening, and certainly even for myself, as I have tons of relationships. So I guess starting right off the bat, what do you think makes for a healthy friendship?
You're looking at me.
Yeah, only because you're across from me. I couldn't look at Diane. I just have to turn my head.
A little bit more back there. Mutual respect and understanding, getting along, having fun together, supporting one another, listening. I don't know. Is there more? Of course.
Well, I was reading Aristotle the other day, because that's what I do in my spare time. Reading Aristotle, and he said there's 3 elements of a friendship. He said one is having common interests. And you think so that they like build on each other, because this is the basic one. Like you think about you're 2 years old and you have a friend because you like to play blocks with them. Mm-hmm. That's basically it. You do something together.
Yep.
But then the next level is like self-disclosure. You start sharing your heart, your hopes, your dreams, your thoughts, your opinions, things like that. So you start sharing kind of your interior life with that other person. But then he said like the third level of friendship then is to really kind of see the world through similar eyes, kind of a same vision for life, like the same morals, same goals. And I think that's the highest level of friendship. So like when you look at your friendships, how many of them do you think are still kind of like first level friendships of like, we just do stuff together? And that's kind of like where it ends versus a second level or a third level friendship.
Maybe work friendships are more of that first level of, obviously maybe you're not sharing common interests, but you have a sort of a common goal to accomplish and you're working with these people on a regular basis, I would say.
Do you hang out with people outside of work?
When we get together in person, I work remotely. So, it's kind of forced getting together, but not necessarily on a regular basis.
You wouldn't like text someone and be like, hey, let's go get a drink or...
No, it's not possible for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But you do have an office here.
Correct. But I have to go into, when we get together as a team, since everyone lives in different parts of the country, we end up.
Oh, New Jersey.
Yeah. So in the evenings,
meeting place of humanity,
we'll
New
get
Jersey.
Dinner, do drinks and stuff. And it's more surface level, just, conversations about what's going on. Like we know enough about our personal lives, but I would say I don't share the faith with most of my coworkers. So that's something that, with my really close friends, it's sort of the center of the relationship and it's what it's founded on. And then outside of that, we just have, it's our personalities jive. We have fun together.
That's fair. I don't know. Do you spend time?
hang outside of work with friends.
Awesome.
And I have, since I left my architecture job where it was just me and the grumpy old architect. So
if you're listening to this, grumpy architect, don't take it personally.
He knows he's grumpy.
Oh, okay.
His kids know he's grumpy, But every job I've had since then.
Oh, that's good.
It is good.
Kind of form deeper relationships.
Yeah.
How many people do you think in your circle of friends do you get to that third level with? Like 5, 10, 25? How many people would you consider a close friend that has kind of like similar vision?
Interesting. I think I have a good amount. I'm not going to put a number on it right now, but I have a tendency of just connecting with certain people immediately. And it's strong and it's just known, it's just like a really good bond.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't think we even have to talk that much. It's just there.
Yeah.
So.
More and more studies are showing that young adults sometimes like a huge number, like I don't know the exact number, 30%, 40%, say that they don't even have one close friend.
It's terrible.
Which is really a shame. It's really a shame.
Sorry, we're laughing at you.
No,
that's why we're doing this show, I think, to try to connect to all these people that are home and alone.
Yeah, in a very real way.
But it's not the quantity either. I mean, a great quality friendship is, there's nothing better. You don't need millions of people surface level. If you've got a lot of friends who you can go really deep with, but if you count them on the hands of your fingers, I think that you're very blessed just to be able to connect with one person deeply who kind of understands you, who you can be totally yourself with, flaws and all. Especially, I think, rooted in the faith is very important to discern, is this person bringing me closer to God, or is this person tempting me to, break the commandments and do things that I know that I shouldn't be doing? Because if that person is rooted in faith and has the goal of eternal life, that you're running the race kind of at the same pace with them, whether it's dating, whether it's friendship, then you can trust that this person, hopefully is trying to grow in virtue, wants what is best for you, and is going to give you, because you end up sharing your heart the more that you trust somebody. And you can go to these people and really rely on them for advice that is not going to be suited necessarily to, like, the way that the world might give advice of, okay, you got to go after pleasure, honor, power, whatever. It's more of, okay, no, you got to think about this from an eternal perspective, what's best for your salvation. And if you have a friend who's going to help you to do that and to point out, in a nice way, things that you need to work on, maybe vices or obstacles to help you to see, because oftentimes we can't see our own flaws as well as a friend can, or a friend can help us to bring the perspective that we need to a situation, like how God would view the situation as opposed to how you're viewing it. So I think those types of people are gems, and I'm very blessed to have just a few girls from just meeting them through the young adult community in Stanford that I consider to be lifelong friends. That, it's just the greatest gift.
Yeah. So when you're talking about a friendship, like, is it possible to have a close friend that's 30 years older than you, for example, or a friendship of somebody that's maybe not at your kind of peer level? Is that possible? And is that healthy? Is that a healthy friendship?
Are you talking, I guess you could, as you come into adulthood.
Do you have any friendships of people that are, not your age?
That would be a definite for me, but Diane.
You definitely do?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I can think of one that we both know.
Bob and Carol?
Bob and Carol.
Yeah,
who are
totally.
a wonderful couple, and they must be 60-something.
Yeah, they're my parents' age.
Are they really?
But they're my friends, not my parents' friends. We met during RCIA, which Father Joseph was a part of when he came to Stanford. And they still text me and call me all the time. Lauren, we haven't heard from you. How are you? They moved to Rhode Island. They want me to visit all the time, which I have done. They have a beautiful rental home there, and they're building a new house as well. So
that's beautiful.
They're like another set of parents, I guess, or an aunt and uncle to me.
Yeah, one thing I've never understood is, especially when you're going through school, there's this view that you can only be friends with people that who's your age. But I had friends, thankfully being homeschooled, I had friends that were much older than me. I had friends that were much younger than me. Like, I was like, whatever.
Some of my closest friends at Greenwich High were the security guards.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Absolutely.
That's cool.
So like middle-aged or 30.
Yeah.
Yeah. Greenwich High is huge, so it can be hard to fit in, or it was for me. I was like an athlete, so I was always in season, but I did not have a friend group or a best friend in high school. But then my clarinet got stolen from the student center.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah. And then I got to know the security guards, so I talked to them all the time. Or my coaches, Yeah.
I consider myself an old soul, so I've always connected with older people, I think. Certainly in school, when college, high school, I was kind of just connecting with people who are in the same vicinity of you, like whether it's a couple years older, whatever. But once I started to work, you're working with people who are decades older than you. And I don't know, some of the people that I go to for advice, obviously my parents, I really respect all of their life experience and I can tell them anything. But also I have, a friend from Mass who's like 75 and emails me all the time. And
that's beautiful. That's
beautiful. And one of the women at Scholastica from St. John's, she's like another mother of just, always giving advice, praying for me. So I think, these older women have a lot of wisdom that they can share, and the experiences of they have this empathy of knowing sort of like what struggles you're going through. And
I think it's a different kind of friendship because like there's friends that fulfill different roles in your life, right? And I have two very close friends, Bob and Mary Young, who may be listening to this. If you are, hi, peace out.
Peace out.
But sorry, that was a 90s thing. My apologies.
Love the 90s.
Showing my age.
Loves it.
But they're over 75 at least, and probably closer. I think Bob just turned 79, and they're the grandparents I never had because my grandparents died when I was rather young, and never met two of them. And one passed when I was 12, one passed when I was 18. So it's nice to have that wisdom figure, and they are wise. They're very wise, very holy, delightful people just to spend time with, but they fulfill a different role because it's not like we're peer equals. It's rather more like I look up to them because they're my grandparents, and they look up to me because I'm a priest.
Yeah.
So as my mom would call it, it's the mutual admiration society.
Oh, that's
you're the best. No, you're the best. No, you're the best.
Yeah.
But like you have different relationship, like different kinds of friendships. Like you're talking about like Scholastica being like a second mom, kind of. Like,
yeah.
And I think that's a beautiful gift. Is that?
Yeah, no, it's certainly a gift. There's lots of different roles, I guess, that you can fulfill in these friendships and connections.
Yeah. So when we're talking about young adults, just from your own experience of seeing other young adults, what are some pitfalls and some mistakes that they make in either friendships or dating relationships that make something unhealthy?
Flakiness.
Non-committal. Define flakiness. Oh, non-committal.
Mm-hmm.
You see that
Can't
a lot.
get a straight answer. Oh, maybe I can come to this other awesome event that you're doing again. And then you get the text like halfway through the event. Oh, sorry, I'm not going to make it. I'm like, I knew it. I knew you weren't going to make it. I know how you are at this point. But why? Why this? I don't know. I guess I shouldn't be so harsh because who knows what's going on with all these people.
No, that's frustrating.
That's very common.
Totally is. There's a friend of mine who every year I've been leading this father-son backpacking trip, and this guy he's always like, oh, me and my son should come. I totally want to come. So I'm like, all right, come. And then 2 weeks before, I can't come. Next year, 2 weeks before, I can't come. So this is his last year. If he comes, he comes. If not, I'll never invite him ever again.
Yeah, which is fair.
Yeah. But flakiness, that's a great point. Yeah.
I think another one is unrealistic expectations. Like you think that this person who you're dating is going to fulfill every need and desire that you've ever had. And that's very dangerous because it just places a burden on them that they're not meant to carry. God is the only one who will fulfill the hole in our heart. And certainly someone, can bring great joy to our lives, but it's often, I think relationships are approached wrong. Obviously you want to have that connection, but it's not all about like, what does this person do for me? Really, relationships at the end of the day are giving of yourself and learning, to grow and to see the other person and accept them, kind of for who they are and understanding all that. So, unrealistic expectations of just, because then it's unfair. The person can never live up to what your vision of them is because it's just non-existent.
That's an interesting point because like, do we go to relationships to get or to give? Because I think sometimes it's a little of both. Or maybe with some relationships, it's more giving or more getting than giving.
Probably a little bit of both. And that's where I think it can become contentious, because if one person is consistently taking, and another person's giving, I mean, that just is utility at the end of the day. Abuse, really.
Yeah.
I think that's really common.
Just kind of like, it's almost like, what do they call it? Codependent?
Yeah.
Like that's to the extreme, but certainly I think in any relationship that's not, where a person is not totally centered in Christ, there is that like, oh, there's this ache in me and you fill it.
For this short time being, often, while I'm struggling with whatever I'm struggling with, that I'm frustrated over the latest guy that dated me. So now I'm going to reach out to you and we can talk about it. And then, you hear from them a couple more times and then they're gone. This is what many young women do.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm calling you out. So I'm used to it. I don't really take anybody too seriously. I mean, I've kind of shared this before. Like, I'll be charitable. I'll be kind. I will respond if someone invites me, like if they're serious, like they really want to meet up, but I don't continue like to put in the invitation myself.
Yeah. It's not just young women. I could tell you guys do it too, because as a priest, a lot of times, sometimes the young men from the young adult group, in Stanford or other places that have worked with young adults. So they'll call me up and say, oh, we haven't talked in 2 years. Can we grab coffee? And immediately my radar goes up and I'm like,
what kind of advice are you seeking?
What are you? We're not just catching up. There's obviously something you really want to talk about. You want to pretend that this is like a meeting of friends, but it's really a counseling session.
Yep.
And okay, that's, as a priest, that's my job. That's my role, is to be a counselor. And I'm totally happy to do that. But I can understand, as a friend, you don't want to be that person who's just, I'm only there when you need someone to cry on their shoulder, but otherwise, you're not interested.
Yeah, because they do fall off,
Yeah.
They just stop reaching out. They stop coming to things. They never extend an invite back,
Yeah. Yeah. Those are actually good signs, I think, of an unhealthy friendship.
Yeah, definitely.
It's where it's very one-sided and not going both ways. What about an unhealthy dating relationship? Have you ever seen a friend of yours in a relationship, a romantic one, that you're kind of like, that's not good?
I think I've seen ones where I've thought, that's not a fit. They're fighting all the time, I don't know. Yeah, I think definitely. I don't know about unhealthy, though, because it's rare to be witness to bad things.
I'm not going to speak about personal experiences, but just in general, I would say, I guess, a toxic dating relationship is when, I've seen it's more, I think, the secular world, but where the person takes this, is manipulating the person and takes them away from kind of their family and their friends, and just a lot of, I think, emotional abuse, of consistent criticism, not really respecting the differences. And that's not to say that you obviously have to discern, is this person breaking the commandment, that sort of thing. But I mean, if someone's consistently just using that, the significant other, obviously that's toxic. And there's verbal abuse, emotional abuse,
cheating,
criticism.
Cheating, sure.
That happened in my
Jealousy.
Frisbee friend group.
Really? Mm-hmm. Cheating on each other.
With 2 couples that were married. And
With
one,
married?
like you were saying, unhealthy. It was so obvious that these 2 were not a fit. And also, it didn't seem that the guy was really totally invested either.
That's not
good. He was really flirtatious.
Yeah.
With me and other women in the Frisbee scene too. So that made it super obvious, but they argued all the time, and then they were already living together. That's what people do. Then they got engaged. This is over 4 or 5 years that I knew them. Then they got married.
So if you see a relationship that's not a fit among your friends or family members, have you ever brought it up to them?
In that case, I didn't think it was my place.
Yeah.
Because I was closer to the guy, and I really hoped that his guy friend spoke to him. Because everybody knew this,
But I wonder if anyone said anything. Because I think especially in a romantic relationship, perhaps people get very blinded by the feelings or by the good looks or just the experience of being loved.
Yeah,
can be a very narcotic thing. I mean, the fear of being alone.
Yes.
I don't want to be alone, so I'll cling to this relationship even if it's totally unhealthy.
Yeah, everyone wants to be chosen and loved. I mean, that's just innate in our nature, the way that God made us for love. But I think a lot of times the fear of, okay, well, if I end this, what's going to happen? I mean, just the fact in ending it, sort of like what Lauren was talking about, how a lot of people are living together now, especially and that's danger, besides the chastity and a whole bunch of other things, but the danger of living with someone that you end up merging your lives such that a lot of people are just so fearful of the implication of breaking that apart, shared bank accounts, shared rent, that it's just easier to stay in these toxic relationships when at the end of the day, you should be
discerning.
Moving on.
Right. You don't have the freedom to discern.
Yeah.
In that case.
Yeah.
Right.
And you lose yourself really in those toxic relationships. You end up becoming, you're meant to, I think when you're with, especially for dating, when you're with the right person, you can just be completely yourself, become more fully who God made you to be without any shame. We're all imperfect. We all have flaws. So it's someone where if you mess up, you're not going to be beaten to the ground. There's kind of a patience, I guess, and a mercy there.
Okay, now something you said triggered a thought in my head, and that is, do you personally get really annoyed when a friend gets into a romantic relationship and no longer talks to you? Or how do you deal with that when your friendship seems to be breaking up because that person is getting more romantically involved with so-and-so?
I think I used to. I do understand, relationships do change once. Because, think about married people. You can't expect that this person that you were hanging out with all the time as a single person is going to be now hanging out with me when they're married, and they have, that's their vocation and they're starting their family. So I do think that there has to be some understanding. But I totally get what you're saying that, some people seem to just completely fall off the face of the earth.
Fall off. Or it is hard because you want to hang out with them and do stuff with them. You're like, nope, sorry, I got a baby.
Exactly. And it's hard to balance of...
pro-life, but rats.
Yeah, that's one thing, though. But if people are just in a dating relationship and they're not even married yet, they should not be losing their friendships.
And I do think friendships, to Lauren's point, are very important while you're dating.
Yeah.
Even in marriage, it's important to have friendships. It's important to maintain your relationships.
Yes. _ yes. That is huge because a lot of married couples make the other person the center of their life. And obviously, in one sense, they are, right? It's a total gift of self. But in the other sense, for a healthy marriage, I think you do need to have other friends.
Outside friends of the same sex, and you should also be maintaining your family relationships as well. Hopefully everyone has good, we have wonderful parents. Father Joseph, you do too. You want to...
All right. Okay. No, just kidding. Love you, Mom and Dad. Yeah, you guys are great.
I love hanging out with my nieces and my brothers and everything. I never see myself... hopefully if you're with the right person and it's a healthy relationship, that you have those boundaries and the set times that you can spend with, such that you're not, I don't know, cutting people out of your life. That's a shame. There's so many friendships are such gifts, the good friendships.
They are, and I think they're worth sacrificing for and worth pursuing, So not every waking moment needs to be with your boyfriend or girlfriend.
No. You got a whole lifetime for that.
Yeah. I remember there's one couple at one of my parishes that I admired so much because so many parents, I think, once they reach a certain age and their kids reach a certain age, the parents' life is totally revolved around the kids. The kids play soccer, the kids do this, the kids go to karate, whatever, and they all just follow around with their kids. But each individual parent, it was Joe and Susan Daly with their names, and Joe played in a 50 and above soccer league once a week, and Susan played tennis 3 times a week. And that's awesome because they were able to keep not only friendships but activities for themselves, and they came back to their family refreshed. It was something that filled their tank. And I was like, that's really cool. And I wish more people did that. It's because you're not really taking away from your family. You're investing in yourself so they can go back and give rather than take from your family. But what would you say, Diane, or Lauren, to what's something that Diane said about how, God should be the center of your life and you shouldn't be necessarily needing the affirmation that a relationship can offer you. But what would you say to somebody that, maybe goes through a bitter breakup and then goes to adoration and doesn't feel God's love? Maybe they intellectually believe it, but they're like, I feel so broken. I don't have good friendships, or I don't, I just, because we do crave, I think, human friendships in addition to God's love, because God's love often works through human friendships. And what would you say to someone who's struggling with that? Like they want to make God the center, but they just don't, they feel so empty still.
Well, I would say I've been there.
Have you?
With relationships not working out. And, I think now, looking back, it's so hard in the moment. But number one, the more that happens, the more you realize you can see God's hand in everything, that it's never the end. Like the pain, there's always a resurrection after a death, and that a lot of times God is just saving you from something, that would have been bad, or he has a better plan. So you have really, I think when those types of things happen, you have to really dig into his word, the reminder that he gives good things to those who ask him. Now, good is not necessarily what you define as good. It's what God defines as good. And it's all in God's time, according to God's will. He knows you better than you know yourself. Again, you have to root yourself back in scripture and, again, commit your life to the Lord, trust in him, and he will act. You just have to really sit there in adoration of saying, God, I don't feel this, but I trust in you. And that is more meritorious than feeling these emotions that you might, otherwise conjure up.
I think emptiness has a purpose. And even feeling loneliness as a purpose.
It does, but it's not the end. Like, you can feel crushed and just, and there's a time for the mourning. Like, God gives us time. We're human. We feel those emotions, but you always have to have sort of that hope that God does have a plan for you and that he will provide, but it may look different than what you had envisioned.
Yeah. So, so we're talking about, of course, friendships, but, the pitfalls that you saw in friendships, things like being flaky or things like being perhaps too needy or, too dependent, can also exist in family relationships. And it's not as easy to wash your hands of a family member as it is a friend. If you have a friend who's just constantly flaky, you just stop talking to them. That's not the case if your brother's constantly flaky or your sibling. So how do you deal with toxic family relationships where perhaps, maybe your mom or dad is verbally abusive to you, and what do you do? I mean, like, you can't just leave that relationship like you can with a friendship. What do you do with that?
That's definitely harder. If there's straight up abuse happening, then I think you can leave, right? You don't have to go when you're invited over. You don't have to invite that family member over. But if we're talking less severe,
not like
they're
something
just,
that would actually,
I don't know, annoying or some way.
Yeah, sure.
I think you have to see beyond that and recognize this person, if they're an aunt or uncle or someone older, they've loved me my entire life since I was born, right? And so family is definitely stronger than friends.
But just to play devil's advocate, have they loved you? Because sometimes I'm not sure that, all family members love each other. Sometimes we kind of just put up with each other because we have to,
That's a good point.
Like, oh, that's my younger brother. I just, we've all got that uncle that is contrary and fights at every family gathering, right? It's like, or something like that. And you're like, this is a toxic, but this person gives me stress every time I'm here. Like,
yeah.
How do you deal with that?
I definitely can relate. I don't think you can give up on family. We don't know why. Why did God put me in my family and you in yours? And all these people that we have that are together. It's a total mystery, right? So, I don't know. It's a chance to grow in your sainthood, and patience, and other virtues.
Yeah, the family is the primary place where we learn those virtues, self-denial.
Mm-hmm. And some people, I think you have to recognize, are not going to change.
Yeah.
Right? They're always going to be loud and obnoxious. My Italian uncles. And it gets really old sometimes, right? But they also have these other really great qualities, too, that I really like and admire. So you have to take the good and the bad.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
And I think it's just a reminder of humility, right? Like, as much as another person might annoy us, that there are good, everyone has their good qualities. And sometimes, they may not, you might have to dig a little deeper. But there's normally something going on, like some wound or whatever. But it's a reminder, too, that, okay, yeah, this person is annoying to me, but I'm probably annoying to this other person. We all have flaws and things that are...
I'm not annoying to anyone.
Yeah. So it's more of a reality check, I think,
sure.
To work on the humility and recognizing that we're not the center of the universe.
So definitely, difficult family members, even toxic family members, can force us to grow in virtue. I think, is it okay to kind of like not be with them as much,
Yeah, I would say so.
Just like a friend. You don't have to, you can choose your friends. You can choose how much you interact with them. And are they bringing you closer to Christ? Are they causing you to sin? I don't think there's any obligation there. But other than to, treat this person, try to see this person as, as God would, made in his image and likeness, whether or not you can discern that clearly.
So at what point then, in a friendship, that maybe the friend is constantly nagging you or someone that's difficult, maybe somebody that just doesn't have good social skills or something. In that kind of case, when do we know if we should keep the friendship because it's helping us grow in virtue versus leave the friendship because the person's just not changing and a difficult, stressful person to be around?
I don't think I've ever actively left a friendship, but they just end on their own.
You drift away.
Just you stop communicating.
Yeah.
Or something occurs where there's finally this reckoning moment, at least for me, because I don't tend to bring things up until it's like, it's so many things, and then it's probably too much for that person to take, and then they just retreat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not even like an explosion. It's just an acknowledgement of all these wrongs that have occurred. And it's so many. And then often the person that has done the wronging, they can't even recover from that. And I've often felt like I'm just always the loser because I can finally address some things, but then they leave or they react negatively, or I don't address it and then I continue to get treated poorly.
So why would it take you so long to address it? Why wouldn't you do it at the beginning?
It's not my way, you know? Or I think that I can endure it, but then it just gets to a point where it's totally ridiculous.
Yeah.
Or it just, like the things that have occurred have been unbelievable to me. Like totally unbelievable. So I do reach a limit, you know, that they have to be addressed.
Yeah.
Or again, like I said, it just kind of fades out.
Yeah, that can be tough. I mean, I certainly in college roommates, there's annoying habits that you're kind of like, can I endure it or should I address it?
I know. I do that a lot with two roommates, what to address and what not. And I tend not to address things.
Really?
That's my way, I said.
But you're still on good terms with them, I hope so.
Yeah. I mean, I'm on to 5 and 6 right now. So 1 and 2 were great. 3 and 4 were challenging. 5 and 6, I'm back to great. But still, I just don't like to be the one. You didn't kick them out.
It was just...
No, yeah. One got married.
They got married.
One moved to another town.
Yeah.
Another one got married. Another one is doing her PhD. But I just don't like doing that because oftentimes we're not in the apartment at the same time. So it can't be done in person. And I hate
over text.
How do I say this that's friendly and not like accusatory?
Yeah.
I just don't like it. So I tend to avoid, or I weigh it, okay, this has reached a point that it should be addressed now.
Yeah. Yeah. Compliment sandwich, right? That's what they say.
Yeah.
Give him a compliment, slip in the bad thing, give him another compliment.
Yeah.
It's hard. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Because even, I live with another priest, and when he is, I don't think I've ever had to criticize him for something, although I could think of a few things I should. But but when he's asked me to turn my music down or something like that, you do bristle. That's just a natural reaction.
Yeah.
Like what's wrong with you, man? Oh, wait, no, it was actually the bad was mine. The bad was mine, but...
I was less sweeping. Like the floor was dirty. I was sweeping. I maybe banged the broom against the counter or something, like trying to get in the dustpan. And one of my roommates came down and asked me to not make so much noise. I was like, I just was sweeping for me.
You were serving
5
everyone.
minutes, and it wasn't even past 10 o'clock either.
Oh, gosh.
So yeah, I bristled at that. Like, really? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Here I am doing something. But I must have banged, and I didn't even realize, because I tend to bang things anyway. It's just, I'm a little clumsy.
Well, that's where Diane's humility comes in, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm sure that there's things that we all do that are annoying. But you also have to pick and choose your battles. Because, if you're fighting over every little thing in marriage...
my goodness gracious. Yeah.
Let's not make life miserable.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we've ran out of time, but it was a great discussion about healthy relationships and some great insights onto how to have healthy friendships, particularly when we getting your personal identity from Christ, and that's where we get our primary love, so that we can then go out and give love and not necessarily cling and seek that kind of love, but also finding things that we have in common, finding ways to overlook the small things, but also to address the things that do need to be addressed, in whether it's a friendship or a romantic relationship. But make sure that your friendships and relationships are healthy, because God wants you to be fully alive. In fact, that's what St. Irenaeus said, that the glory of God is man fully alive. And relationally is one way in which we really do draw a lot of life. So the toxic people you can't get out of your life, like perhaps family members, we learn to grow through that, through sacrifice. And the people that are in our friends group that perhaps are giving us difficulty, we find ways to love them. But if it's clear that a friendship is not leading to our fulfillment or theirs, then it's time to perhaps part ways. But thanks for joining us in this episode of Restless. You can find us on Veritas Catholic Network, 1350 AM and 103.9 FM, and now on YouTube. Join us next time for more Restless.